Well, welcome everybody to the first inaugural LinkedIn Live session with the product management team here at HYPR. We are super excited to be here today. A lot of good things to talk about, so let's just kick it off here. I'm going to start. I'm going to start by introducing the most important piece of this, which is the team. My name's Rich Gibson. I'm the VP here of product at HYPR. Been here about 3 years, about 10 years in identity security. And I am lucky to lead this amazing team, which I'm going to introduce now, let them tell a little bit about themselves. This is the reason why these things happen here at HYPR. So I'm going to start with Martine. Martine and I have worked together a number of years at a number of different positions, most recently here at HYPR. Martine's been with us, I think, 2 years, right, Martine? Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rich, for the introduction. So yeah, having for the last 2 years at HYPR, really excited about the things we have already accomplished, but also what is coming next. My background is on security, having like covering from offensive security penetration testing up to like IGA identity security products. So my main background is on cybersecurity itself, but again, I have been kind of covering things from consulting to product management and innovation as well. Yeah, here at HYPR in the last 2 years have been focused on what we call our HYPR Authenticate part of the platform, and more recently also cover HYPR Adapt, which we're now transitioning to Corey.
Great. Yes. All right. Let's move on to Mercedes Anders. Mercedes has been at HYPR. I see now this is a test, and I'm going to fail this test. I'm going to say a year. Mercedes, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do at HYPR?
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. So I'm Mercedes Anders. I'm a senior product manager here for HYPR Affirm. I run all of our identity verification efforts, and that's exactly what my background in it is in. I've been living and breathing identity verification and risk detection for about the past 11 years, but in security roles for about 15.
Great. And was I right on the year at HYPR? Is that correct?
I think that's a safe assumption. Yeah.
Round it up. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. And finally, last but not least, Corey Zimmerman. Corey has been with us, I think, the shortest amount of time. I'm going to get this right. I think 2 months. I'm going to guess. Corey, a little bit about yourself and what you do at HYPR.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I think 2 months is accurate. You throw in the holidays, maybe sometimes it feels like 2 days, but that means now I'm still in my fresh perspective era, right? So it's a wonderful superpower to have right now. So I've been in tech for the last 12 years, the last 5 of which have been focused on identity. So I think one great thing is coming from the other side of the fence from a customer perspective. So understanding what these enterprises are looking for when evaluating partners is a great thing to come in. And I think that's a great perspective that a lot of us share here at HYPR. So as Martine mentioned, I will in this position at HYPR, I'll drive the development of HYPR Adapt, which is our real-time adaptive risk mitigation solution. And that kind of ties into a lot of the rest of the platform. So really excited about being able to join the team here.
Great. Excellent. Well, they say it takes a village. This is the village that's going to do it. And excited to jump in here. I think, one of the things we all, as you heard, we're kind of all in the individual areas of the product, but I wanted to just step back a little bit and talk about what do we do at HYPR. I mean, there's a lot of things we do. I think the team will tell you about that. But at the end of the day, it's all about identity assurance. And that is basically securing the identity lifecycle. That means we drill it down or distill it down to 3 distinct areas. And the first is FIDO, Passwordless Authentication. So Martine talked a little bit about HYPR Authenticate. the core of what we do is eliminating passwords to create that more seamless and secure user experience. So number one of the three is that ability to deliver that FIDO passwordless experience. Number two, and Mercedes talked about this, the identity verification. We integrate it directly into the process. So we ensure that users are who they claim they are at every step of the process. And I think that's key in what we deliver to our customers. And third, Corey talked a little bit about this continuous risk response, that risk engine, adapting to those evolving threats in real time, keeping your organization safe. So putting all of those pieces together, identity security, and creating solutions, don't just react to threats, but proactively prevent them. So identity security starts here with us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the team. And what I'd love to do, I think, since this is our first one, I'd really like to get your perspectives. And we haven't had a chance to really sit down as a group together and think about 2024. We just had our full disclosure. We just had our planning session for 2025, the kickoff there. But I'd like to take a few minutes and get the team's perspective on, what did we deliver in 2024? What were those key customer success or wins? What was exciting about the year? Thinking back, and I'll start with Martine. Kind of give us your perspective on what do you think? Were the high points of 24 for you?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point and a good conversation to have, because I think that in the previous year, like 2023, for us was primarily the time where we sat together and we said like this strategy of identity assurance. Now in 2024 is when we started kind of come to realizing the value of that, right? So a lot of the different capabilities that we enable our customers during 2024 has to do with this idea of, again, the identity assurance and how we're putting together all the different pieces, right? So we're thinking from not a pure identity security perspective, but more comprehensively with an assurance lens. And this idea of that the user journey is not only the authentication, right? It covers a lot of other touch points. So it's about how you onboard your users, how you onboard and how we bootstrap the credentials for them, how you offboard them, and really what we are trying to do, and we are seeing like 2024 as a big milestones into that, is how to deliver on those different user journey points with a risk-centric approach, right? Yeah. So we saw a lot of the again things that we think are adding value to our customers, and we deliver in 2024 has to do with that, right? Integrating with different vendors, providing joint solutions with the technology stack that most of our customers already have. And kind of being the glue that joins all those things together, right? Like delivering on passwordless and phishing resistant authentication solutions, but also covering like what happened when users needs to basically re-credentials themselves, recover accounts and things like that, and doing all that with this lens of a risk based approach and a policy-based approach, which we think is definitely what our customers are looking for.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. And I think 2024 for me, to kind of jump on what you said there, is the conversation started to pivot from, okay, we've got this solution or these two solutions, and then trying to figure out how that might fit, to let's talk about the entire journey. Customers that I've talked to, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys, is they definitely don't think in terms of our solution and our product names and the way we slice and dice. What they think about is, this is the identity. This is where the identity goes in my organization. This is what happens to that identity. There's bootstrapping, there's onboarding, there's re-credentialing, as you said, Martine. And we're having the conversation now, I think, at their level with their perspective, because the identity assurance solution is able to kind of cover all those use cases. So I think 2024, it changed the conversation and allowed us to really focus on that customer use case and that journey, as you said, because we've got all the pieces in there. We brought them to bear. So I think I totally agree with what you're saying. Mercedes, what's your perspective thinking about 2024?
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you and Martine both hit the nail on the head there. With the launching and getting customers to see the value in HYPR and HYPR in general, it's like we finally see this completed puzzle of identity assurance. And I think they fully cemented themselves as critical tools in that identity journey and identity assurance overall.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too, when I think about some of the early conversations with customers thinking when they're trying to verbalize I need identity verification, but they don't necessarily say it that way. So they're thinking about, how do I secure, at the help desk? How do I secure, when someone wants to reset their credential? How do I provision? How do I do this securely? They don't necessarily talk product level, but they definitely talk problem level. And this is, again, I think we were able to widen that conversation, identity verification as part of the overall solution. I think that was a key change in 24 that really, I think, helped expand how we think about the problem and what we're able to do. Corey, for you came in a little bit late. And you came in and we immediately threw you in the fire. So what was your perspective of 24 outside in?
Yeah, I think, of course, joining this team, I could echo what everyone else has said, just even from the outside coming in, having initial conversations. But I think I'll focus on kind of this team's aspect and approach. And so joining this team, I think, as we start talking about things like completeness of vision and having this great breadth of value to bring, I think one key aspect is if we're looking at what we're putting forward in bringing to customers in that value isn't just a matter of here's tools in the tool belt. I think if we look at the things that we're building, and this is what got me most excited about joining HYPR, was the things that we're building are things that enterprises are really looking for. And there's a struggle both from the enterprise all the way down to the smaller businesses of these are critical things that are needed in today's day and age that smaller businesses aren't going to have the resources to build themselves. But even larger enterprises that do have those resources to build, it's a great deal of complexity, and there's a lot of solutions that it's difficult for even a larger enterprise to get to a solution that effectively brings about that positive net business outcome. And so I love that we're uniquely positioned to join into a tech stack and leverage that tech stack across the board for our customers and come alongside that journey with them to put out that greatest net positive business outcome and help convey that to stakeholders for that customer that might not be able to clearly articulate or understand why this is needed and what kind of value this does bring all the way to the end user.
Yeah, that is such a critical point. I will share a story this year. One of the key conversations that sticks in my head, it was a very large customer that I went on site to visit. They've been a customer for a long time, right? They were interested in some of the newer offerings, but what the conversation quickly turned to were a couple things. Number one was, solution is great. We understand the value. We understand the vision. How can you help us implement? We need some mind share on what are the practical steps that we can take. So part of what I think happened in 24 was with the success of implementations, right? Because Corey, you said it's one thing to have the tech, but it's kind of another to be able to realize the ROI. So with the success that we've had, one of the key things we bring in these conversations is here are the things you need to think about. And it may not even have to do with the product. It's how do you influence an organization? How do you get people aligned on the value of this new solution? How do you sell it inside the building? What is a rollout plan? What's a deployment plan? How do you pilot? How do you get evangelists? All of these things are just as important, if not more important, than the technology itself. So I think 2024 allowed us to bring a lot of those kind of evidence of success to our customers, to our prospects, to say, not only are you buying the technology, you're buying the experience, you're buying success, you're buying, history of successful deployments. All of that comes with Hyper. So I think that was, again, a big change for us in 24. Okay, as I mentioned, we just got out of our 2025 planning for Q2 and beyond. Great job, team, by the way, laying out the candidates. So what we do is quarterly we meet, we collect the features, we listen to the market, and we kind of propose candidates to engineering for development in the year. We reset the roadmap. So I'd like to spend a few minutes now just talking about, we know what happened in 24 and what we're excited about. What do we think 25 is going to look like, and what are we most excited about there? And I'll start with Martin.
Yeah, that's another good question. So I think that if I want to highlight like two things that we're really looking forward in 2025. I think one is our expansion of enterprise passkey. So for those that might not be aware, we have been traditionally offering like passwordless solutions to the market for already a lot of years. What we have been doing recently is more importantly try to take an enterprise ready approach towards passkeys, right? So passkeys has been getting a lot of traction in the market. They have been really changing the game for attackers as well on the consumer side. Now on the enterprise, there's a lot of things that needs to be considered. So I think our expansion and our continuation of all that work around making those passkeys available and ready at the enterprise, I think is one of the key things that we continue to look into 2025. So continue bringing more value from that perspective, and again with this notion of considering the entire user journey, but also having a risk approach to it. So that's one of the first things for 2025. And the other really is about like integrations, right? And our strategic alliances and our technical partnerships. One of the things is really clear is that all of the organizations and customers we talk with, they have a very broad and complex set of security solutions. Basically what we are looking to is be the ones that can help them get them more value out of the investment they have already made, and be the glue that also put all things together through the user journey, right? Whether it's with our integrations with, for example, endpoint protection products, or whether it's with our deep integration that we continue to work on with IPs and suites like Microsoft. What we are trying is to again make sure that our solution can get the most out of all the different solutions they have already in their environments, and the investment they have already made. So again, a lot of great things coming from that perspective. We have some new things that we are working, as I mentioned, with Microsoft. We continue to dig into our integrations with endpoint protection solutions like CrowdStrike, and also have a lot of integrations that we keep expanding with like solutions that help our customers also bridge the gap between like logical and physical access. So a lot of work that we're doing with Ubico, with IDEMIA, that are kind of some of the more important partnerships we decide to focus during this year. So yeah, those two are the more impactful things we're looking, and yeah, hopefully looking to 2025 to start sharing more about those.
Yeah, I think that's well said, Martine. I think a key thing, if 2024 was the build, right, to get identity assurance and that whole complete story, as we talked about, 2025 is definitely the expand. And they expand into what is identity from a physical perspective, what is it digitally, right? How do those coalesce and come together? And you talked a little bit about the partnerships there, and we are seeing that, right? We're seeing that from our customers, that need, I think, always with the ecosystem. How do we expand and share within that ecosystem? Because identity assurance requires everybody, right, in partnership together. So completely agree, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there and a lot of exciting things coming in 25 for value for customers. Mercedes, what's your take on 2025? What are you most excited about?
So in 2025, there's a few things that we can all get excited about. I'll take it back to 2024 really quick. We saw a lot of value add in targeting a few different use cases when it comes to IDV, and that we focused on onboarding and recovery. And we saw success internally by stopping a fraudster who was trying to go through our process and onboard. And so it's awesome that we saw that validation. So in 2025, we're going to take it a step further, just like you mentioned. We're going to keep expanding the existing functionality for those two main use cases, as well as add some support for additional use cases. So we're going to focus on help desk support as well, and this HR use case to expand on that onboarding from the HR side of things and not just traditional security. So that's exciting, as well as we'll continue to always add enhancements to the workflows that our users are interacting with, as well as how do our admins deploy and manage these different workflows that we're putting out into production. And then I am also fairly excited about some of the deep fake work we're doing. How do we detect those different signals? How do we stop those, deep fake attacks that are happening on the biometric verification side? A lot of exciting stuff.
It is like, I guess the fraud is real, right? And we've evidenced that. We've stopped somebody from, getting onboarded here. But I guess your point about the environment changing and the deep fakes and the AI, I think all of that is going to be a continuous evolution for us, right? As we deliver to our customers the ability to continually combat. I know conversations I've had this year started to pivot away from standard, how do we get MFA and things into the organization to, oh my goodness, how do I think about deepfakes? How do I think about AI? What's the new threat surface now that I've got to worry about, and how do you help with that? So I think that's going to be a very exciting component of 2025, right? How do we dig into that? So that's great.
Synthetic identities used to be much simpler, and now in 2025, it is they're advanced, to say the least.
Yes, and we will be there to combat that. Correct. All right, Corey, newest guy, but yet you've got a view now with the team of 2025. What's your view?
Yeah, I'm excited about, I'll take some from everybody's before, just at a high level. I think Richie mentioned, I think everything kind of ties into expansion, right? We've got foundations in place. We have really great capabilities, great business enablement for our customers. And I think with that deeper knowledge with those customers and going through the journeys with them, we have very strategic ways that we expand. And I think, so we talk about expansion, that is obviously a very exciting place to be able to continue pushing the envelope and moving forward. I'll throw another E word out, expediation. I think anytime that we're partnering or that a customer is partnering with a vendor, it's always critical to realize that value very quickly. And so it's not just enough to expand capabilities to fit with the market, to stay ahead of threat actors, to stay ahead of what the environment looks like. But we also have to help people realize that value quickly. And so that sounds great coming from a vendor saying, we'll help you do that. But we do have some tangible, very tactical ways that we can do that. So specifically from Adapt, I'm really excited about, as we do expand those capabilities, kind of productizing, and especially if we look at policies, let's identify these policies that are have very repeatable positive outcomes and make them more easily implemented. How quickly can we get these things in place and realize that real world value? There are some of those tactical steps that we can take, and I'm very excited about those. But the integrations, I think, are going to be key. We live and die with signals, especially on the adapt side. And so having the ability to ingest a great amount of signals and not just consume them, but then be able to turn around and actually act upon them, that I think is a very critical component. And as we look at that expansion and simplification or expediation, trying to bring that to fruition faster, having that deep understanding and being able to make it something that is more can take some of that complexity out, while not eliminating the flexibility to fit specific customer needs, but taking a lot of that flexibility and making it easier to put it into place. I think I'm really excited to see how we're able to expand in that in 2025.
That is such a good point. I think we tend to maybe gloss over the fact that our customers have day jobs, and part of their day job doesn't necessarily, involve creating software or deploying software or managing software. They're getting on with their lives. That's their day job. And the quicker that we can get in and provide value, I think the more successful we're going to become. And what I love about your point, Corey, on authenticate or adapt specifically, our risk engine, is that is a quick deployment. And it shows immediate value. It shows it visually. You can quantify it, and it's easy to make the case. And it's easy to expand upon that later, right? So you can start small with little use cases, and you can continue to build on that. So I think you made the perfect point, right? That's it covers two kind of points there for our customer base. Listen, I'll reiterate again. What we do is exciting. I think this is the team, and I'm excited to work with you guys every single day. 2024 delivered some amazing capabilities to the market. 2025 is going to be even more amazing. And I think we, in these little kind of sessions, are going to help expose maybe some of the value of that, talk through some of the concepts, and help people understand really that there's more than just product names. There's a whole series of things that sit underneath that. So any final thoughts before we wrap? Let's start with Martin.
Yeah, no, I think just as a coach, I think is again, I'm really excited about things that we're looking in 2025. I think it's all about the value that we know are already providing to our customers, but how can we make that as we have been discussing, right? More clear, more visual, and get it faster to them. So really excited, and I think that there's lot of individual features and things that we're already thinking of working on to realize all that.
Great. Mercedes.
Closing thoughts. I am so excited to be on this team and all the work that we do, but also I take pride and enjoyment in the teams that enable us to get to where we are and where we're going. So I just want to make sure that everyone feels the love and knows that we're excited and proud of all the work that we do.
Excellent point. It's not just us. There's engineering and QA and a couple other folks. Yes, very good. Corey.
Yeah, I'll touch on, I mean, really, we've touched on it throughout the conversation today, but I hope it really just comes across very plainly for everyone that we value the partnership. And I'm reminded of various conferences, but conversation with customers, getting to have that level of interaction. But I remember actually at an FS Tech conference, which is actually technology for the food service industry. There's a panel conversation around the build versus buy decision. And one of the panelists made a note of, look, we're talking about build versus buy. Some people align it to context versus commodity or even core. And really, we're framing the question in the wrong way. When I'm trying to analyze and determine a vendor to go with, or whether I should build or buy a solution, I look for a partnership. It's not a product or a platform or a service that I can get from somebody. Is this someone that we can come together hand in hand, go through this journey together, and understand that we're moving towards the same outcome? And that's what I'm excited about here. And this entire team, this is, really the breath that fills our lungs, right? This is what gives the great purpose to how we go about building these products. And it's not just the product team, but as you mentioned, Rich, the rest of our teams, from engineering, QA, all of our infrastructure, everybody is very passionate about building that partnership, building that relationship. And typically it's our field that is kind of the face of that, but so many people are deeply interested in understanding what the customer is going through, what the market is looking like, but mostly what is the customer going through? How can we work together and realize that value, right? And ideally as quickly as possible, but really it's the deeper value that we're pursuing. And you don't get that by building things in a vacuum. We have to be deeply in touch with our customer needs and build that relationship, build that partnership. And we have a big strategy and vision for what we want to move forward with, but we're bringing our customers along for the ride and ensuring that we're not leaving anybody behind, and ensuring that we're able to not just get a contract signed, but to actually provide that value and convey, helping stakeholders who may not understand anything about authentication, anything about identity verification. You talk about risk engine, so many people, their eyes glaze over, and it could mean anything to anybody. But helping to realize that and convey that to the broader business scope is really just a big part of the value that we bring to that partnership, in addition to those capabilities that we're uniquely positioned to provide.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I love the partnership, and I think at the end of the day, we're humans trying to solve a problem that the customers bring to us, and if we do it together, everybody wins, right? Everybody is going to be successful. So let's leave it there. Thank you, team, for this inaugural session. I'm sure there'll be many more. Now, as you've heard me say many, many times, get back to work. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.
All right.